Facebook.
Welcome, peace. It's Coach Fatimah.
It's Coach Nyla. Coach Fatimah. And of course, we are, if you are not new, we are co-founders of interpersonalrelationships.com, or outside of personal relationships. And if you are new, or if you aren't, whatever, just hey.
Hello,
welcome. Welcome to our Sunday Q&A.
Yes.
We're excited to be here. We're excited to answer your Q&A or your question. Well, answer your Q&A, that made no sense. Answer your questions. And we're going to get started in a second.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we have all of you guys connected because we're Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, Instagram.
All that.
Make sure we got all of them. Yes. So, yes.
Send your questions in, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. Coach Nazir. All right, so today, before just jumping into a Q&A, we have about 20 minutes before we go to our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle training. For those of you who are members, congrats.
Yes.
Welcome. We'll be getting started in about 20 minutes or so, and we're going to disconnect everything from social media, what we do, where we serve our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle members. So if you are not a member and you want some more details about that, feel free to go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM for Relationship Mastery. Get all the details if you want to join. Feel free to do so. We still have bonuses like a free coaching session and the course going from monogamy to polygyny, as well as one of our books and everything next year. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. One of the things we wanted to really discuss, which is important because we received a number of different inquiries about it online, but we've been talking about it for years. And it's not anything that's specific necessarily to polygyny, but marriage in general, not even just limited to marriage, but of course, that's one of the most important relationships you have. We want to talk about it there, and that is communicating and communicating well. So we're going to talk and really kind of discuss that for a few minutes. And should you have any questions, if you are on YouTube or streaming from our private members area, you can make a comment below the page, or if you're on Facebook, feel free to, I'll be looking at this phone back and forth and checking for questions and whatnot and go from there. So I'll hand it off to you.
Assalamu alaikum, Coach Fatimah again. Talking about communication, one thing that I've learned in my journey with learning how to communicate in a healthy way, meaning with positivity and connecting with everybody's issues. I don't like to say problems, but I like to say issues, is being honest about how you feel about a specific issue. And not trying to bury it or try to sugarcoat it or try to make it something that it's not. I think that honesty is good. Just because you're being honest doesn't mean you have to be rude, though. I've also learned that. In a healthy way, communicating is so valuable with all your relationships, but again, especially marriage, and especially marriage in polygyny. Because as a co-wife, we communicate with each other often and check in on each other. And we always make sure our communication is healthy and without judgment of or assumption on how the other feels. Same within being married. I find that's something that has to be respected, is everybody's different ways to communicate. And it was like you were saying, it's talk to people how they receive the information. So I really like that.
I learned that. That was something that had to be learned because I'm like, I was not that person. I mean, I would communicate, but I wasn't, I'm still learning how to communicate in an effective manner. And that's the thing, being an effective communicator, being able to communicate in that type of way. And it took a minute. It took learning and just knowing about communication styles. It came with studying different things and learning from different coaches and all of that other stuff. But the first and foremost, it came from me wanting to learn that. It came from me knowing that I wasn't as effective a communicator that I wanted to be. And because I wasn't that and I wanted to be this, then I need to learn how to be that type of communicator, so to speak. So I learned about different things, different communication styles, different love languages, because that's the language of communication, that you communicate how you love a person, if you love a person, or when you love a person, or whatever, you communicate that. So just knowing these different things, knowing different personalities, knowing the personality type, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to let a person figure it out on their own, or it's these different things where it's actually a skill. Communication is a skill, and you can learn these skills. You don't have to be born, well, you can be born, but now it's born naturally knowing how to communicate. Like, that's not a thing. There are some natural born communicators, meaning that these are people who it just comes naturally to them. But all in all, we are not just naturally, inept to, communicate as effectively as we should. Because, like I said, there's different personalities, different personality types. You want to get your point across, or you want to get, you want things to be. If you want to teach, train, or like I said, get your point across, you want to be able to do it effectively. And it's not just our way or no way. You got to figure out how to effectively do that with your spouse, with yourself, with your children, with whoever you are dealing with.
Hopefully your co-wife. Hopefully her too, or them too.
All right, so with that being said, if you're just chiming in, I know some of you get notifications via email or maybe on a mobile device. Let us know where you're from. All right, what country you're from, what state you may be from. Again, we're right in the Midwest, right outside of Chicago, in what I call Jim Crow North, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So chime in, let us know where you at. But communication is extremely important. It's extremely important for many different reasons, but one of those reasons is for influence. All right, for influencing yourself to get up and talk to yourself. For example, we are with ourselves 100% of the time. I would hope. You don't be out of your mind. And we talk to ourselves more than anyone else. We also listen to ourselves more than anyone else. Now, the funny thing is that our brain, and we're learning this, of course, through neuroscience, is that our brain is neutral. It can't tell the difference between past, present, future. It doesn't. It takes commands. Okay? It takes commands. The commands that we give it. So if I needed to write out, for example, and you could give yourself this test, ask yourself, what are 5 reasons that you should eat well? You should eat well. Now we'll come with 5 reasons. It's relatively easy, right? But what are also 5 reasons it's not easy to eat well? List those 5. Your brain doesn't care. Your brain is going to seek 5 reasons, even if it has to make it up. All right. So your brain is neutral. Your brain will look at your body and be like, oh man, I don't do that, can't stand this, I don't. Your brain will complain. If you're on that negative slant, you condition it in that fashion. Now imagine how that is with other people. Imagine how important communication is with your children. Now, you may talk differently and should talk differently to a 20-year-old child than a 20-month-old child. Big difference. They communicate differently. They start out crying and it's, oh, just soft little cries. Then it's like, oh my gosh, they don't be quiet, now it's an alarm. They communicate differently. We look for different signs. We look for different things in what a child may need, whether they're teething, using the bathroom, getting older, if they're frustrated in something, if they're scared. We look for these different things, but as we get older, many times we don't hone those skills. So it's extremely important that we do. One, because since we're with ourselves most of the time, when we communicate, we're going to be communicating what we feel from our perspective. And if we're only doing that, then that obviously means you're not open to the other person's perspective. And like the lady said, speaking how they need to be communicated with or how they're receptive. All right. So one of the things that we come across a lot of the time when counseling and coaching different couples and individuals is that they don't feel understood or don't feel listened to One of the lessons I heard a long time ago, I don't know which relative or who told me, it was like, listen, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. So listen twice as much as you speak. Okay, that's like lesson number 1. Listen twice as much as you speak. Now, active listening is also a skill because we have to read between the lines. We're adults. We know what cues to take. See, when I'm speaking, that's only what is that, like 7%, maybe 9% of communicating. Now, the body language is over 55%. And of course, you have the tonality in which something is said. You know what I'm saying? You have all of these other things that go into communication. So it's important that we're congruent with it. We've had that before where let's say you're talking to your child. Yes, okay. Oh, we have an attitude problem. Need an attitude adjustment or something, right? So we know how to read behavior, and we must be congruent with it. All right, especially with the relationships that we value. 1, the relationship that we have with ourselves. 2, our significant others. So again, very important. So what are 2 to 3 tips you think helped us in developing our communication skills practically that people can take away today?
One of the things is, the active listening part. And what I mean by active listening, not listening to wait for the other person to shut up.
I like how you put a little sauce on that.
Because sometimes we're like, okay, and you're not listening. You're just like, okay, hurry up, finish that. So make sure you are actually listening to understand the person, to heard a couple of things. It was listen, to learn, to understand, to validate. So you don't have to always agree to validate a person or what they're saying, but validation is just pretty much that I'm listening to you. I heard what you said. What you said has meaning because it has meaning to you. That's one thing. Another thing I would say is that what I always say, like communicate in a way that they receive it. Find a way or find out how they receive the information. Whether it's if some people are better with receiving things written because you can put a lot of information there and then you can give them time to process the information. It's always there. It's different when you're doing it verbally. Some people don't take it well verbally. They may hear it a different way, or they may have taken it a different way at that particular moment in time. So you just got to figure out what's the best communication style for that person that you are trying to communicate with, and work on communicating that way. Yes, we have our own communication styles that we would like, but to be well-rounded in it, make sure you're versed in all types of communication styles.
That's one thing I was saying too that I liked, was saying things how people receive it, and also not diminishing what someone is saying to you because you don't share that same opinion. So if you're coming to your spouse, or your spouse is coming to you about something, your husband's coming to you, or you're coming to him, be sure not to. We don't always act right. We don't always remember these things, but best practices, if you practice it, practice makes permanent. So don't diminish the other person because they don't share the same opinion as you do. And I also learned, this took years for me to learn personally, that you can't talk to everyone the same way. So we were talking about our personality types a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. And I know that if I'm speaking to my co-wife, I can tell stories and I go mow all around the bend and come back. And then with Coach Nazir, our husband, you got to get to the point because he wants to know what's going on so he can help fix it. He ain't got time for and this and the cow jumped over the moon. He don't want to hear all that. And we have to respect both ways to communicate. There's more than 2, but I know I have a little bit more time with my co-wife to kind of story tell and, mow all around the subject and, sugarcoat stuff. And we can just daydream about the options, but I cannot, and most people can't with an INTJ, tell all these stories and go around bend and back again. You have to get there. And that's okay too. But it's also okay with our Fs and our personality type to kind of go around and feel the moment. So respect each other's personality types, absolutely, because you cannot talk to everyone the same. We have many children in our family. We talk to each one of them in a different fashion. Again, the 24-month-old versus the 22-year-old. We're not going to baby talk with a 22-year-old, and we're not going to talk about personal development with a 24-month-old. So that's important.
Indeed.
Styles.
Indeed. Okay, good stuff. Well, we want to address just one question for now. As you know, again, we're going to be opening up and training our relationship mastery inner circle members shortly. So we're going to be wrapping it up. But there's a question that was posed when it comes to time division. And the question is, well, what happens? What do you do when you go on vacation? You know, how do you deal with that time? Which is it's a common problem. Well, common challenge, not necessarily a problem. You know, the way I learned a while ago is to a challenge. One of my mentors told me, said, you know, most of us don't have challenges. And I like the word challenge, and I use it differently, but he really kind of brought it to life. So, you know, a person that might need to go and fight their cancer, or that has kidney failure, or has some type of terminal illness, that's a challenge. He said something that can be solved with a check, with some money, you know, that's the issue. That's not a challenge. You know, he was like, that's that, or, you know, that's not a problem. That's what he was saying. He was talking about problems versus challenges, actually. So if that's not a problem, you know, no, the problem is something that you can't write a check for. You don't have much time, any other time you could put towards it. A problem is something that's life-threatening. It's really dealing with your mortality versus other challenges or obstacles or whatnot. So, you know, when I understood that, I adopted this philosophy, like, yeah, we don't really have many problems health-wise, and really being cognizant and being, you know, having a attitude of gratitude, if you will, is very important. So when it comes to something like this, though, when it comes to vacations, and I was talking to a gentleman or a student of knowledge, and we're talking about it from the Islamic perspective, obviously, because we're Muslims. So when it comes to time division, there's a lot of flexibility. The thing is that you must be fair, okay, with your time and your money. Those are the main principles. So if you decide to have 1 week, let's say you have 4 wives, you have 1 week with each wife. If you want to do it 7 days like that, if you want to see one every 4 days, you really have the flexibility to do such. However, vacation is a little different. And that goes into either doing it randomly, saying, okay, well, I have 2 wives, so let me randomly choose whether it's a roll of the dice, you know, picking a straw cast box, like they say, you know what I'm saying? Right. Choosing a name I had with some other blank piece of paper, there's only 2, you know, like 50% chance, whatever. So you choose and you go. Now, the thing is this, with the way we do it, since it's every other night, I have 2 wives, if we go on vacation, let's say Coach Fatimah and I go on vacation and it's 10 days. All right, well, 10 days, out of those 10 days, well, 5 days would basically be lost during that time from Coach Nyla. So how do you rectify that situation? A couple different ways. We find the best practices is to actually either go on a 10-day vacation with Coach Nyla. All right, that's easy to do. Easy as in, okay, I went 10 days with you, and I'll go 10 days with you. Easy on paper like that, but it may not be easy financially. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool, we'll go next year. There's a whole lot of stuff to get to next year to do it in order to address that. So that's best practices. All right, if you can do for one, do for the other, fine. That's not the case, which many times is not the case. Right. Or if the wife is funding the thing, all right, that also changes the dynamic as well. So if the wife says, okay, cool, I need to go somewhere on my job or vacation, I want to treat you to this or something like that. You have another wife, okay, you got to work that out somehow, but let's go for 10 days. Yes. You know, or she has to go somewhere and needs that mahram, that male escort, if you will, or that husband to go with her. Again, changes the dynamic. However, best practice is this. It's like it's 10 days. You basically will make up 5 of those days that did belong in your other home. All right, if that makes sense. So 10 days, 5 of them belong to the other wife or that night, then you can make those up. So whether that's coming back and doing it right away, we'll spend 5 days over here and we'll just continue switching there every 24 hours, or saying, okay, cool, I'll do 2 days here this month or this week, and then another 2 days in the following week, and then the extra day, whatever. But the thing is that you have to still remain fair and balanced. That's what's crucial. So understanding that, it makes it that much easier. Now, going back to if it's the wife, so she may have to go somewhere on a job. All right, is not going to travel alone, can't travel alone, so not take your husband with you. Do you have to make that up now, Islamically fit-wise? When I stand, you don't, because it's traveling, you come back, you just continue. However, best practices is to still communicate well. We're talking about communication and stuff like that. You know, they may be feeling a certain type of way and everything else. So to be a better husband, to be a better leader, to be someone who's more balanced and fair, you still choose to go ahead and make that additional time up or do something else special for that, because there's emotions that go on, there's jealousies that go on. All this stuff is natural human feeling and natural human emotion. Okay, so we want to address that because that was a common question that we get, not just vacation time, but when you travel. I mean, for example, many of you, I've seen that we traveled earlier this year to a conference down in Atlanta. We traveled together. So we traveled together, stayed in the same house and stuff together and all that under the same roof. We had some of the kids with us. Relatively simple. We don't have to make anything up. Both of them are with you. No problem. Right. You have a different issue on whether or not how you want to juggle it or change it in the home or something like that. But traveling together is one thing. But we've traveled in the past. I mean, Coach Nyla and I went to California, going to some trainings, investing in ourselves. Then the following either season, maybe we went in spring, then we went, Coach Fatimah and I went in fall. So we went at different times and so on. So it depends on the circumstance, but the main thing is to make sure you're fair with it. And to best practice wise, make up whatever days if you're not planning on doing what I just said I did. We went to a training, and then we went to a training, and then, I took my daughters to a training, so we went during different times because we understand the significance of investing in ourselves and our personal growth. And in doing so, at that time, you choose whatever you can have and whatever you can work with and what's necessary. But then at the same time, you look it over and say, all right, well, this is the time that is kind of like needs to be made up or what have you. And in doing so, you just adjust it, whether it's adding one on per week to make up 5 days. And after 5 weeks, now you're good to go and you go back to the traditional schedule. Totally up to you. And you don't have to even do it a day at a time. It could be 12 hours I add on here, another 12 hours over here. So we have that flexibility, which is so good because many different people work in different ways. So whether a person can be a flight attendant, or a person can be a truck driver, or somebody that's on business or on the road a lot and frequently. So those hours, those different times matter and they add up. So again, the main thing is to be just, to try to work things out and be fair. We want to leave it there with that. Definitely giving salams to a number of individuals, and we are running behind. So yeah. I should have listened more, but I wanted to answer that because that's a very common question that we get. But prayerfully, some of our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle members are watching now. If you are watching, we're going to go ahead and change the setup and get some things out for you guys. Give us about 5 minutes. If you're not, and you want to know more about the Relationship Mastery Inner Circle, feel free to go to outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM. Become a member. You get a free coaching session with us. We also give you some free courses and stuff like that as well. So feel free to join us, and you'll be able to also take advantage of this course that we're about to do, or this training that we're about to do live right now, that has worksheets and audios and downloads and stuff like that in a private members area. We appreciate you plugging in. Sorry we couldn't really get many other questions. We do have our MIC members. With that, remember, wish changes nothing, but decision changes everything. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. It's fine. You don't have to stay seated if you don't need to.
Okay. So what's going on with the training now?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No, we always discussing it. Prepare.
Still didn't get So
I couldn't start and kind of be there and then let y'all do this.
Just be sure.
You're gonna do it, and then I guess you want to stuff. Maybe I could grab some stuff for a short time.
So how long is it supposed to be for?
Goes on, so what? They'll appreciate it more.